I guess we're live. Accidentally hit the button. We are live, Jake. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry at all. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Futsal News Live. We're doing it live with you guys. Hey, listen, we talked about a lot the last time we were together about U.S. soccer. Excuse me. Holy crap. U.S. futsal. Pardon me. U.S. futsal. Now we are going to go a little more global, talk about some different things going on and what to expect in tournaments that are coming up. We may review a tournament as well. In fact, that's where we're going to start is reviewing the UEFA Champions League briefly. And then we're going to kind of talk about some different articles and videos that were going around social media here in the last week or two and talk about the health of futsal around the globe and where it can go from here. So some exciting stuff. If you guys are in the chat, please, if you're here live, make sure you comment. This is all about you guys following us live. You drive our conversation today. So if you want to talk about something longer or shorter than another thing, you have complete control of this stream. So within reason, easy. But we will get kicked off with some Champions League action. Luke, first of all, how are you doing today?
If you guys don't know, or you probably don't know, my day job, somehow I have been roped into becoming a middle school teacher. So I teach art, technology in yearbook. And as many of you, if you have kids, you know it's silly season for the children. They're getting out of school and it's absolute mayhem. So if I seem a bit scattered and flustered, I am. And I'm wrapping up my year, and I haven't been following as much futsal as I'd like, but I have kept a peeled eye on some futsal things. Definitely got a chance to watch a little bit of the Champions UEFA Champions League final. Such exciting stuff. Some really great developments of some really great futsal programs coming out of there. Just super excited to go over that with you, Jake. But I think in my heart, I have a special place for the tournament that is upcoming, which is the Copa Libertadores, which we will be getting to later in the stream. And I am super pumped to talk about that.
Me too. So if you guys don't know a little bit of history, it's a short history on futsal news, but we've we kind of got really addicted to Copa Libertadores last year. I want to say it was later in the year last year because the channel was already live. And at this time last year, I had not posted a video yet. So the timing's not exactly annual, but the last time we had this contest, Luke and I were drinking the Kool-Aid really hard on South American futsal. I mean, we were looking the bottom of the bottle, man. It was intense. So we are really excited for that to come back. So we will cover that today. But like Luke said, starting with the Champions League, UEFA is kind of the king of futsal. They're the king of the regional championship in outdoor as well. I mean, the Champions League now is all you can get news-wise from soccer, from outdoor. So no surprise here. And we saw some teams that were new. We saw some teams that were familiar faces. So you got a little bit of everything. If you guys missed our video on it, for me, it had everything you could possibly want. There was so much drama in this Final Four. It went from a blowout to an underdog victory. And in that underdog victory, there was all kinds of drama. And then in the final, there was drama. Oh, it was just fantastic. It was storybook. So let's start with the first things first. Let's start with the participants. If you missed any of the information floating around on the Champions League, the heavy favorites going into this contest were Sporting CP. Luke, would you agree?
Yeah, I think definitely Sporting CP came in with the clout. Sporting CP, or wait, we're talking about Sporting Portugal, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, Sporting Portugal came in with the clout. They came in with the pedigree. They were by far and away the expected champion of the tournament. I mean, their outdoor program, Portugal being the absolute pinnacle of competition for futsal, they definitely had the upper hand as far as popular vote and odds.
Oh, 100%. For me, you look at, I think Spain probably famously has the most eyes on it as far as the professional league is concerned. And they've, of course, had their drama over the course of this year as well. And even through all that, I think they are very often considered the pinnacle of clout. Famous league clout for a domestic futsal league, but
Sure.
Portugal cannot be slept on.
No.
And the proof is in the national team performances, in my opinion.
Right.
Portugal and Spain are always the 1-2 going at it. Whenever it comes to any kind of European contest, they're just far and away the most professional and the most invested in futsal. But when you look at Sporting's history, especially recent history, but this is a team that when they started this tournament were making history by being the most represented team across all competitions. And I should probably say that in a less confusing way. Sporting has been to 10 semifinals. So they were tied with Barcelona at 9 appearances in semifinals. Another team you may be familiar with if you follow any kind of soccer or football. And they were tied for 9 appearances total in semifinals. And in the last counting this year, last 3 years, you saw Sporting win the championship against Barcelona 2 years ago. And then you saw Portugal lose to Barcelona last year. And then this year, it looked like it was Sporting's year to go back to the trophy. It didn't quite happen. But it started out white hot for them. I mean, the first game for them was an absolute blowout. They played who my dark horse prediction was for the tournament, which turned out not to be going in my favor. But RSCA Anderlecht from Belgium was kind of my pick as underdog dark horse that could cause some disruption. And Luke, I believe you had them kind of picked too as your team to hopefully disrupt the favorites and make some action happen.
I really did. I really had Anderlecht. I wanted good things for them. I kind of had a soft spot in my heart for them when Sasha Kleshin played for them, in the outdoor game, of course, and then kind of following Sporting Anderlecht, but also just to kind of, I think my reasoning with these other teams, other than Spain or Portugal, is to really, and I think in my heart, I want to see other countries kind of start coming up and putting up some of that competition, and in that way, I guess I reason it in my mind that other countries are growing and that other countries are doing it, and there's competition for Spain and for Portugal, to where we can kind of we can go over and check out what Belgium is doing, and be able to root for a team over there. So that's kind of my understanding, or the way I viewed it. So, but a disappointing result nonetheless.
Unfortunately, so now they did look a lot better in the third place match. They did bounce back from that 6-1 thrash or 7-1 thrashing, excuse me, to Sporting, and they started out a little slow against another Portugal side, Benfica, another team that's very popular in the outdoor game. So you see a lot of outdoor representation across the first three clubs we're talking about here. RSC Anderlecht, of course, being a major outdoor club in Belgium. No stranger to qualifiers for Champions League to get out of Belgium and into outdoor Champions League as well. And give credit to RSC Anderlecht before we move on to Benfica, because just in getting to this contest, they tied defending champs Barcelona 7-7 in their main group stage, which was enough to get them through on goal differential. And that's why Barcelona was not involved in this contest this year. So they have knocked down giants in the past. It seemed like a fair play that, hey, maybe this is a dark horse. I think one of the things that hurts a country like Belgium, and I'm curious, maybe we'll talk a little more about this here shortly, but I mentioned it in the video as well. Belgium does not have a very competitive domestic contest for RSCA Anderlecht. They are really in a one-team league,
Right.
kind of similar to how you see PSG and Ligue 1, that
Right.
really on paper there's no reason for PSG not to win that title every year in its current state in the outdoor game. But here with Belgium, it's kind of the same. They tend to railroad everybody they play. I did see they were recently in a cup contest back home, and RSC Anderlecht, they won the game. It was 6-4. When you're at the top of the mountain, everybody wants to knock you off. So I'm sure these teams come to play, but most of the time I'm seeing 5, 6, even 11 goal wins coming out of Belgium for RC Anderlecht if you follow
Right.
them on social media. So I don't know if that hurt them in the long run. It certainly didn't hurt them in qualifiers, beating teams like Barcelona that face the best of the best. But speaking of Spain, our fourth team, if you're if you are, we've used this phrase before on the channel. If you are a futsal purist, if you if you only care about futsal and you don't care about these outdoor teams, here we have Palma Futsal from Majorca. Palma Futsal is a futsal specific club. They were runners up last year in LNFS, and for me, even though they were hosts, they were kind of my underdog. The reason for that was it was their first ever appearance in a semifinal, which was very exciting. I always love to see a fresh face, and I love cheering for underdogs, but I still labeled them that way, thinking that, okay, yes, they do have the home court advantage, but they've never been there before.
Right.
But what I didn't account for, and foolishly I did not account for this, is they do have players on their team that have been on that stage before. So, it's not like the team itself is who is competing; it's the players. And I took
Sure.
that for granted when I did my review. So, if you guys stick along with the stream, you'll catch me admitting to mistakes here. So you can call me out in the chat if you want and say, "Hi, Jake, you big dummy," and I will accept if you know anything about my family. They're more than happy to tell me that too, and we have a playful banter with that. I mean, that's just how it is. But for me, going into the contest, an underdog, no trophies to talk about in any contest, first time there. They did have a full stadium, though. I don't know if anyone in the chat or Luke, if you caught the crowd. The crowd was intense.
Right.
Alma games. It was really cool. So 6,600 seat stadium used to be their home. Now they play in a smaller arena for their domestic play, but that thing was damn near full, and a lot of green and purple. It was really cool to see.
Right. Yeah,
But
so Majorca, you did say something about never being on the stage before, and I think it's a valid shout. Not only players that have been there before, but coaches that have been there before as well, to be able to manage the personalities on the team. I think it's huge. Your coaching staff and being able to assess the situation and guide them through tournaments. I mean, tournament play is its own beast. And you know that, and when you're playing a league and it's stretched out over 30 games or something like that, it's a different way of competing. You can pull points, but when you come down to it, I think the tournament is the purest competitors is competition. It's very, very cutthroat. It's do or die. And man, Mallorca did, and they did it brilliantly. And how they pulled it off, I probably won't know, but is a definite great shout for Mallorca and coming up with like Jake said, one of the biggest trophies for your first trophy ever.
yeah, what a way to fill that cabinet front and center. I mean, they're going to be putting the trophies around it from here on out because they're never going to top that except for with another Champions League trophy. So it's an exciting time for them. So massive congratulations to Palma. Both their games were extremely entertaining to watch. If you guys go back and watch any highlights, I strongly recommend catching both the Palma games. I think UEFA.tv has those highlights still on their webpage. So you can go there, go down to the futsal contest in the competition section of that app or on your desktop, and you can find the highlights. So a couple things across both those games, too, that were interesting for me. Number one, we go to the semifinal against Benfica. And Benfica had the majority of possession. They had more shots on goal. They just could not find a way to break Palma permanently through that match. And we came down to the last half a second of play. So surely there's no more room for drama in this game, right? I mean, it was back and forth. It was intense. It was already such a good match. We got a half a second left. We got a player doing a kick in for Benfica from nearly the halfway mark, just inside of Palma's half. And they crossed the court diagonally and hit Artur on the back post, who had a beautiful volley into the inside post and scored what appeared to be the game tying goal. Benfica goes ballistic. Anguish for Palma because now the game is tied going into extra time. A little bit of a hush on the arena. And then they go to VAR, and the ball didn't make it to Artur before time ran out, so his goal did not count. It only made about halfway across the court. I mean, we're talking about half a second here, so not a lot of time.
Hey Jake, are we okay YouTube wise to play the highlights, or is that going to get us in trouble?
I don't know if that's going to get us in trouble, so I'm resisting.
Okay, I just have it here. I'm watching along with you, and I just wanted to see if we could actually just show it, but that's, I don't know the rules, so
I don't exactly know either. We can I mean, worst case scenario, we can always cut it out in the VOD.
okay.
If we want to, do you want to throw that up real quick?
Yeah,
And
I can throw it up.
I think that when the referees are checking it on VAR, that's pretty crammed. It might be hard to see, but if we can capture that 2 seconds that that play was, maybe it might be pretty cool to see. Um, it was a beautiful play, beautiful set piece, and then you go from that pain and anguish and jubilation. Uh, Referees come back, and the pain, the anguish, the jubilation goes the other way. Unfortunately, but yeah, this was a wonderful, wonderful game.
Oh, we
Pretty,
rescinded yellows. Oh man. Oh, rescinded to a red. Oh, okay. Here's the kick in. There it is.
yeah, that was an interesting one too. So this happened, I think, just a couple minutes
Point
before
five.
the end of the match as well. There it is.
Well, time did run out, man. Could you even believe
Isn't that wild?
what an absolute shocker.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's see if we can line that up again. It's kind of hard in the. And I mean, look at this play. This is everything we teach to. Oh, this is. Look at the form on this volley. So he's facing away from the goal,
Right.
steps towards the near post, and swings his body through that ball and allows his hips to correct and drive the ball in the direction you want it to go. That is classic futsal volley technique, and
Wow.
is great for the outdoor game as well. If you're an aspiring player and you're watching this, that's what you want. Everybody thinks they need to start facing the goal. You get that foot planted in the direction you want it to go, and then you let your body do the rest of the work. It will want to correct your body. Your hips will want to correct yourself and drive that ball, and
Right.
it creates extra momentum. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, there was nothing that Luan could do about that one.
Wow.
Lucky for them that the time ran out. And after this happened, the Benfica players hitting the deck, that was their chance to push to the final and disrupt their biggest rivals. I mean, that's the other thing too. Imagine a massive rivalry game that could have been between Benfica and Sporting, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Right.
Benfica always seems to be only a quarter of a step behind Sporting in winning these trophies. They're always right there in the mix. And if you're following the Portuguese league right now, Braga actually is in the mix right now too. And as I checked, I haven't checked in about a week or so, so I don't know if it's changed. But Benfica, Sporting, and Braga are all within a couple like within a win of each other at the top of the table. So maybe we see somebody different even again coming out of Portugal. I mean, it's just so intense. Uh, and then even more drama when we got to the final because Sporting and Palma grind out a 1-1 draw that takes them into extra time and then into penalty kicks. But before we get there, I don't know, Luke, if you don't mind digging this up while I'm explaining it.
Yeah, go
There
ahead.
was a yellow card issued to one of the Sporting players. This might be tough to find because it's not an actual goal. It was a rescinded goal as well. But he had a hold of the Palma defender's shirt behind him and was holding him off, and then made a hard turn and shot and hit the inside of the netting for a goal, which would have been the go-ahead goal for Sporting. And at the same time, the Palma defender had a pretty good grip on his arm, so it seemed pretty back and forth. But after VAR review, they took the goal away and issued a foul. And I don't think it was the right decision. I think even Ferral from Brazil, and he also plays for Barcelona's futsal team, and he's been there, I think, for over a decade, I want to say. He's one of the best in the world. And he even kind of tweeted it out and made a comment about the how much that fixos get away with and how policed pivos are on those kinds of plays. He put it much more eloquently than I do.
Okay, I
But
think I found it here.
oh, did you find it?
I
Okay.
did find it. So let's
But
put it up. Hold on.
it's a it's a tough call. Sure, a handful of shirt. Maybe if he didn't have such a big handful of shirt, he would have got away with it. But I'm curious what you guys think on this one. And Luke, I want to hear your thoughts on it. That Zicky goal was nuts too.
Is this one you're talking about?
This is it. So there's the goal.
For
So in
VAR.
regular time, it looks like no harm, no foul. But when you take a look at the replay, pretty good handful of clothing.
I gotta see this again. So at what? Okay. So at what point? So I've always coached this, right or wrong. I coach this when I'm coaching soccer, when I coach outdoor. I coach. This is holding your ground. This is a foul.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where there's some.
I mean, that's where I coach because when you're extending, let me see if I which hand. When you're extending, when you're extending your hand, that shows like kind of like going after someone. To me, this feels like you're just holding your territory. You know what I mean? Like your ground, like where you're at. So in my book, if I follow to reason my reasoning on what I've coached my whole life, this is a foul. It's a foul. I mean, he's extending his arm to become far bigger than he is. I give him props. I mean, it's great play, but I would call him. I mean, it is a lot. It is extended. I feel like he knows what he's doing. I don't know. What are your
agree. I
thoughts?
think that's
What
why
are
they
your
made the
thoughts?
call. I agree with you. I think that's why they made the call. But I'm actually on the opposite side of this coin. I think it should have been a no call. The flow of the play was smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Both players were giving it back and forth. It didn't take out a player on either side, and I don't know. So it happened fast in the game to a point that I didn't notice until the Palma goalkeeper started doing this to the referee, complaining about the shirt grab. I didn't even notice it at first. But strictly by the rules of the game, that I think that is a foul. But seeing the defender have two hands on an arm at one point, and the lead up to that was also very handsy. It was just a physical game, and it was just kind of weird that particular moment. Not weird in the sense it was a goal; it was going to have an impact on the game. But the fact that they went back and rescinded the goal, and then issued a foul as well, which could have implications later with foul count. I would have liked to see that count. I think most pivos feel that in today's game, and especially I think futsal, sometimes some people who don't understand futsal think that it's a more finesse game because of the way that the fouls are conducted and stopping of plays, and that's not true. Futsal is very physical, and extremely physical. I'd almost argue more physical than outdoor, and some of that's going to happen, yes and no. I don't know. It's a tough one. So I would have liked to see it go. I think Fixos get away with a lot more than Pivos in today's game, but I might be overthinking it.
So let me shed this light on it. So if you're a defender and someone has your jersey like this, right? What's the call if that and that's the exact same scenario if the defender goes and slaps the hand away? What's the call there? Is that the foul on the defender, or is that the defender doing his job? I would wager to say that defender is going to get a foul called on him.
Yeah, especially it's kind of like you said with the arm when it's fully extended like this. Not only is it all the things you said, extending yourself, making yourself bigger than you should be. It's a stiff arm. To some is how a lot of it gets phrased, but also it's very demonstrative. A referee can see this a mile away.
Right.
Same thing with slapping an arm away. If you go and do one of these, I mean, how's the ref going to miss that? They're not.
No.
You got to be. So much of this is subtle semantics of what you can get away with, and you do when you do this, and I even teach our kids to kind of tuck your arm in as well, so that it's a lower profile. So you don't want to go too far out, and then you want to hide it from the ref. You don't want to give him any reason at all.
Right.
Maybe his maybe his interpretation of the rules doesn't want to see this either. So we
Mhm.
tell him, get your arm tucked in there and wrap yourself and pull through and make it quick. Don't hang out here.
Yeah.
Make it quick. And I think it's the same thing for the fixo on the opposite side. If a guy's got his arm out on you, you got to figure out a quick way to get around that. And it should be quick. It should be some little, kung
Right.
fu stuff. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. That's being a little goofy, but all that stuff. The more you give, the more you show, the more for the referee can judge.
Right.
And I think that that's what happened there. Was there was just enough time that the refs had that doubt in their mind, and then especially with the protests afterwards, for them to go back and say, okay, we need to take a second look at this
Right.
thing. And then sure enough, yeah, that arm is straight. Um, Personally, I hate to see it taken away, but at the same time, I 100% understand the referee's perspective to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, by definition, in that slow mo, it's a foul.
So what in my book, this again, and I hate to do this, but it is. It's a futsal is having this direct correlation with basketball play, and this is total basketball play. This is the big man down low versus the like Shaquille versus Hakeem Olajuwon, or the two big guys banging around down low, and I think in my mind I want to see that because I think those battles are fun to see. They're good. They're physical, but again, that extended arm, you just like if you saw that in the NBA, you'd be like, hey, no, you know,
Well, and one can argue too is if his arm is that stretched out, he's got room to work. He doesn't need it out there.
right,
So that's the other thing too is
true,
is he inviting the contact that the fixo, at that point has hands on him as well. I kind of feel like he's inviting it by leaning into that
right.
as opposed to rushing to the side, which is where he went anyway. But I think he wanted tighter to that defender so he could roll and be in front of him as opposed to turning and being at his feet. It's hard to know what's going through a player's mind, but those are kind of the scenarios I ran through while I was rewatching it and going out. First of all, how did we get there? And second of all, what's the right call? It's a tough one.
It
It's a
is a
tough
tough
one.
one. One last thing I'll part with in on this.
Yeah.
I think also you got to consider where the foul occurs, and I'm wagering that the foul occurs a little bit more here, where he's kind of yanking him behind him
Yeah,
as he turns. They cut it too early, in my opinion,
they did. When I watched it live and they did the whole playthrough and showed it a few times.
because I think when he yanks him behind, that's where the foul is.
Yeah, because the Fixo stays up, but he's clearly going the wrong direction after that with all the forward momentum of trying to push through that arm.
Because
Yeah, look at
look
that.
how far off to the other side he is. Like look how far he is over here. He like yanked him over there with the shirt. I think that's the protest too, is they went like this and pulled him away from the way he was rolling. I mean, it's a smart move on his part if he can get away with it.
If he can get away with it, right?
Right.
And this time he didn't.
No. Anyway.
But it went through two very, very tense extra times. I was tight. I was feeling some muscle tension watching it, and I didn't even have a dog in the fight. But
Right.
Palma in both games were amazing in the sense that they really held off the competition. And I used the phrase, it was like watching the 300 Spartans fight off the Persians. I mean, it was just onslaught after onslaught after onslaught in both games. And when you do that against such high profile talent as, first of all, Benfica, and then Sporting, I mean, Sporting being the real big dogs in this contest, you could see it in it's interesting. So you could see it in their body language that the Palma was tired, but you see a fire in their eyes. Every time they did a close up on any of these players, they were not like, I don't know if it was the fans in the building. I don't know if that's just their mentality at Palma, but I got to tell you, I mean, I became a Palma fan instantly watching these two games because they had a never say die attitude. They played to the very end. They were smart. They played very smart. And their goalkeeper, whose last name is escaping me at the moment, but his first name is Luan. He's an Armenian national team goalkeeper. Played on his head. I mean, it was just everything you wanted out of the underdog to get there. So no pumpkin for Palma in this story. They made it. They won on the penalty kicks. Sporting, interestingly, subbed their goalkeeper for the penalties
Yeah.
and put in their specialist. And their specialist, oops, hit the camera there. Sorry, guys. The specialist for sporting didn't touch a ball except to get it out of the net, which was interesting because
Huh.
it's not like so obviously two different practices. You've got the guy who's your free kick specialist, and you got your regular goalkeeper, but their regular goalkeeper seemed really on top of things in that game.
Right.
Uh, the only goal that went in was Zicky's back heel, and he had a really beautiful pop on that. That I mean, there was just no way Aguita was getting to that. Guita, excuse me. But it, I was just a little surprised by that because he was warm. You know, you're putting in a cold
Right.
goalkeeper at that point, and it did not pay off in any sense. I mean, 5-4 on penalties to Palma. They never missed, and good for them. A really exciting contest and definitely one to remember. Instant
Luan
classic for me.
Luan Mueller.
Mueller. Yes. Okay. Yes. Luan
Luan
Mueller,
Mueller. Yeah, I
Armenian
mean
goalkeeper.
he had a game and a half from what I've heard in the second half I did watch. He was yeah, like you said, he stood on his head.
He set up the first goal as well. So he ran the ball all the way down the court, took on two defenders, if I recall correctly, and then got tripped up inside of the arc and in Sporting's arc, and one of his field players cleaned up a deflection and put the goal in. But and then he was watching over his shoulder as he had hit the deck when he got tripped up, and he looked over his shoulder like this and saw that his player was about to take the kick, and he just laid himself as flat as he could and got out of the way. I mean, the cat-like reflexes you expect from a goalkeeper.
Right.
Really, really beautiful stuff.
Right.
I'm gonna be a little spoiled when we get back to our domestic futsal because that level of play was insane.
Right.
Truly professional futsal in full action. Beautiful, beautifully done. What did you think, Luke? I mean, production wise, accessibility. What do you have any closing thoughts on what you thought about the Champions League?
So interestingly, when I was prepared to. I had some time to watch. I think the second half of the final game, and I downloaded the app, and I turned it on, and away I went. I didn't need a VPN. I didn't need anything, so that was encouraging.
That's
Production
awesome.
wise, I think one of the things is were we missing commentary? Oh, that was the English league. Never mind. That was the
Yeah, that
English
was the
league
English playoffs.
no, I think the announcing is great. I do at times kind of the refined commentary drives me a little bit bonkers. I tend to go for the more passionate people. That's fine, and that I think it's tomato tomato. You know, what's your cup of tea? Analysis and breakdown was great. Production wise, of course, they're top notch. Everything looked on par, lighting, camera work, all of it was super great. It actually gives me a lot of ideas for next year for NFPL if we can manage it. But yeah, I mean, as far as production goes, it's great. You just wish that it wasn't just on like the UEFA app or website. I feel like I'm a huge social media guy. I feel like we can make our own way in futsal if we just put it in the big dogs like YouTube. And I've seen like a few different places do it, like a wiffle ball league and just some really random stuff. I know it's weird, but at the same time, it's not what they're producing; it's how they're doing it and what the kind of traction they're getting. And I think this feeds into one of our topics we're talking about next. Like, I don't know if we're going to talk about it next, but down the road is what is the catalyst to make futsal grow? What is the catalyst to make futsal catch on? And I do believe, taking this out of a website and putting it on something like YouTube, on UEFA's YouTube channel, I feel like is a better route. That's just my opinion. I feel like more people can access it, more people will stumble across it. I just feel like YouTube or something like that is a better platform than how they offered it. And that's the only gripe I would have with the production.
After the fact, I did find one channel that had streamed the games on YouTube, but I don't know if it was a pirate account. I mean, it looked legit. It had, I think it had 5 figures in subs. It looked like it might be a TV channel or something in
Yeah.
Portugal. But and I know I recognize the logo because I found other highlights of the domestic league in Portugal on this channel.
Yeah.
But I did not know that that was where it was going to be. And but I think it is a big miss. It's free accessibility
Mm.
to but two sides to that coin, right? Your
Sure.
UEFA, and you have TV deals in almost every country on in your region. You even had TV deals in South America on ESPN, in Mexico on ESPN, and it's like, hey, look, we're not going to give this away globally when we've got TV deals elsewhere. Maybe there's non-competes in that they can't. I don't know how that works, so I'm probably talking out of my butt, but I
I,
could
I've
see.
I could have sworn that YouTube can do geofencing. I think they can.
That's what I thought too, because I mean, you see it all the time. You see blackouts with your local team so that you buy
Right.
tickets to the stadium.
Right.
Uh, Kind of the same thing. And I would imagine at that level, two big corporations like UEFA and YouTube could figure that out.
Right. They
Um,
should be able to figure that out.
it's not like this tiny little channel's trying to geofence somebody so they can't watch us. That wouldn't be worth their time. But I think that the interesting thing is uh, accessibility to be able to get more fans out there. I know UEFA
Right.
has a very rich following, but if something like that quality of futsal could be displayed here in the States, maybe a potential investor sees it and goes, "Hey, maybe there is something here."
Right.
Um, so I'm curious. I'm curious to see what it takes, and the only reason I think that way with the TV rights thing is I follow England fairly closely.
Right.
Um, I like that league. It's easy for me to follow. It's Sunday morning with the coffee and the daughter
Right.
to watch, which is fun. Um, and I notice that whenever that they air on BT Sport, the YouTube stream is not up,
Right.
and so I don't know if that's a conflict of interest between those two parties, or when BT's there, they don't want to set their stuff up too and be in the way. I don't know. I don't know what the actual uh, thought process is there, but I'm just curious if that's a dynamic of it. Is, hey, we don't want to take away from what pays for this in sponsorship money by giving it away on YouTube and pissing someone off.
I think that's it. It looks like to me. If I were to guess, it looks like the same production that BT would get. It's just the same thing. It's just whether they decide to air it on BT or air it on YouTube. That's my
Exactly.
guess, but
Well, and that could spark a whole nother debate too on taking advantage of having that airtime when you do, because England doesn't have their teams on their games on BT every single week. That's why there are these YouTube streams.
right.
They've only picked up select games, so you know they're it's tough for folks in those countries, particularly England, that has to tiptoe that line because you have to grow your fan base to justify more airtime. So you don't want to lose out by not being on YouTube, but at the same time, you also have to make sure you take care of BT so they want to come back.
Right.
If they don't want to come back, then suddenly you lose that TV deal that gets you more eyeballs in your own country. So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Excuse me, guys.
The one thing to that I speak is I've heard it said before, and I can't remember who said it, is create something cool, create something awesome, and you'll figure the money out later.
Right.
As
It'll
long as it's
naturally
awesome
happen.
and everyone loves it, you'll figure out a way to make money. And that's where it kind of drives me bonkers when people jump early on things like subscriptions and this and that. I'm like, no one even knows who you are. No one's going to pay for it. I mean, I think there's a period where you have to grow, and then like, I think MLS, to make a comparison, with the deal with Apple was smart. I think it's good. It's a bit early, but at the same time, I bought the package and the quality is great. The availability is great. It's Apple. Everyone has it. It's awesome. And I'm more than willing to pay $100 to watch, every single team's 30 game season. No blackouts. And I remember with ESPN, it would drive me bananas with the blackouts. I'm like, I'm not, anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. Blackouts drive me crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely one that's a little tricky for me as well, because this may be going off into a rabbit hole compared to what we plan to go off, but that's fine because I want this to be a conversation. When you, I guess it's a little different here in the States. You hear a lot about, particularly in England, where the cost of a seat is getting absurdly expensive to get into
Right.
a Premier League game.
Mhm.
So you got these guys at the local pub that are still fans that either can't buy a ticket for availability or can't afford a ticket. Here in the US, it's slightly cheaper, but that's certainly a part of it. We're still in a growing stage in outdoor soccer as well. Like, do you lose the eyeballs completely because you black out a region and someone just doesn't follow the team? Possibly. How often does that really happen? How do you measure that?
Right.
You really can't. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting concept and something that we have to think about a lot as a growing sport and a niche sport right now. Is, do we try and do that ourselves with our leagues to try and force people into the stadiums? And with our entry level point of ticket costs in futsal right now, particularly knowing most of the teams in the NFPL are charging $10 or less to come in to watch a game. And there's not a bad seat in any house because it's all so close and intimate at all of these arenas or gyms. You really get your money's worth. Um, but do you lose out by not airing it locally to someone that maybe happened to be flipping through some local sports and maybe misses that Grand Rapids game because it's blacked out in Grand Rapids, or misses that Columbus game because it's blacked out in Columbus? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. That's an interesting one.
I think my opinion, and I'll claim ignorancy. I don't know, and this is just me. I don't know a ton about marketing or advertising, but my feeling and my hunch is that if you want to talk about Premier League team, their money is not coming from ticket sales. That's
Right.
not the main cash cow. Advertising is the main cash cow for them, in my opinion. Jersey sponsors, commercials during halftime, or presenting sponsors, all that stuff. I feel like is the cash cow, and that's where. I mean, this is my opinion. I mean, I'm definitely willing to eat crow on this and recant if someone's willing to prove me wrong. But this is why I'm like, give it away, give it away, give it away. Get as many people watching it as possible. And in my opinion, going to a game versus watching a game are two different things. It's two different things. You know what I mean? If you want to go to the game, you're gonna go to the game, whether or not it's on TV and it's free. If you've been to a game, you know exactly what's going on. It is an experience. It's like watching the Disneyland ride on YouTube versus actually going to Disneyland. It's a whole vibe. Like you said, it's the pre-funk. It's going to the pub. It's going to the stadium. It's going to the pub after the game, and the whole experience in the stadium. Especially if you have like a vibe like these futsal dynamo cats. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
that
yeah.
people love it, and that's what's alluring, and that's why I say like show so people want to go to these things, and we can create these stadiums and create these environments. Because I mean, you if you follow soccer at all, you know that the Timbers were the darling of the MLS for a long time. I think the shine's wearing off a bit, but it was this vibe of like, whoa, these guys are crazy. They have a lumberjack in the stadium with a chainsaw. What's going on? But that type of crazy, and like I'll show this clip pretty soon, but that type of experience where San Lorenzo marching in the stadium, like you showed me that clip of they're singing, it's intoxicating, and you can't. I got chills just watching it on YouTube. But if you were there, that experience will live with you forever. And I think that's what gets inside of soccer fans and futsal fans is that experience, and the understanding of that experience is something different. But again, my opinion is show it to anybody and everybody who will put their eyes on it, because that just means advertising dollars for growing the sport, and hopefully it grows in a correct way.
100%.
Sorry, that was a rant.
No, that was good.
And
No, it was real good. I like it. Hey, why don't you? So here's what we're gonna do for the sake of time, because we're on a shorter schedule tonight. We will do a video about the Copa Libertadores, but I do want to plug it very quickly. The teams and the matches have been set,
Okay.
and the very first games will be on the 21st, which is this coming Sunday. So we will see same format as last year with 3 groups, and then the winners from each group, and I believe I believe there is I think it's the winners and runners up from each group, and then 2 best third place teams move on to the knockout stages.
Is this
And
on cannonball.com?
I'm getting my information from Carnival's Libertadores Twitter page.
Okay. I think
They actually have.
Yeah, let me pull this up. I think this is relevant. I think this is good. Yeah, this is it. It's in Spanish, but I think you guys can get that.
Yeah, you kind of like some of it you can kind of piece together just by the Spanish words being close to English words.
Right.
But I also want to give a shout to the women's side of the game as well. So
Okay.
the teams and uh, the venue and the times of the games have all been decided already as well for the women's Copa Libertadores. So we will see the men's contest take place starting this Sunday. The women will kick off on June 4th. So we will see the women's futsal contest on June 4th. I hope that these will all be aired on YouTube like they did last year. I suspect that they will. Anytime there's any kind of contest at this level and CONMEBOL, they tend to put it on their YouTube page. They did the Finalissima, they did the Libertadores last year. So it'll be really exciting. So keep an eye out for that. I'll put some more information out. We'll probably do 2 separate videos with the timing the way it is right now. We'll do the men's right away. I'll do a video on that here before the weekend, hopefully, and if not on Saturday. And then what we'll do is do the women's here to start off June as our first video of June.
Are you hyped for the women's?
I am, because you know what team is in it in the women's side, don't you?
San Lorenzo?
Yes, indeed. Vamos
I was like,
Ciclón.
yes. But so
Yes.
is this the correct information here, Jake?
Let me sneak a peek.
Group A, Group B, Group C with Cascaval, Cerro, Panta, Tigres Futsal, Jonival, Esporte.
Yeah, I always read it as Joinville, which I know is wrong because that's not English. But
Baracas, Central, Ria, Antequit. I can't read that.
yeah, maybe.
Tasimas, Morales, Moralitos. Juan, where are you? How's my pronunciation?
There is one.
Centauros, Caracas, CA Penarol. Okay, so we're seeing some familiar faces. SS Boca, and Deportes Recoleta. Okay, so we have Cascaval from Brazil, Cerro Porteño.
Defending champs, by the way.
Defending champs. Cerro Porteño, Porteño from Paraguay.
Indeed.
Panta Walan from Peru. Tigres Futsal Club from Venezuela. Jonival, I think that Joinville. I can't.
I don't know for sure. I'm so sorry.
And it is Brazilian.
I apologize to our Latin viewers.
Hey, we're doing the best we can. We're white.
Please correct us if you see this after in the VOD. If you're here live, we want to get it right. It's important to us.
Yes, very. Baracas Central from Argentina.
Yeah.
Real I cannot say that. From Colombia.
Antioquia, maybe?
What was the team we saw from Colombia last year?
Ooh. I can picture their jerseys, but I can't think of their name for some reason.
Oh, I can't do.
They had a jaguar on their logo, I think.
Weren't they black and gold?
I want to say, yeah.
Anyway.
So I remember SS Boca as well having some jerseys I really liked. I know that's really silly, but
dude, I want some of these jerseys.
Me too.
I think I want a Panta Walan jersey a lot. Fantasma Morales from Bolivia.
Yes, that's their first appearance in the Libertadores. I know that.
And then Centauro Caracas.
I think that's Centauro because there's a centaur in their logo.
Oh, Centauro Caracas, Venezuela. CA Peñarol from Uruguay returning.
Yes.
SS Boca from Ecuador. And Deportes Recoleta from
Chile.
There we go. I'm like, Chicago? That's not right.
That's not
Chicago is not right.
Turn off my American brain for a second.
And so, is this correct? We have Cascaval versus Tigres Futsal May 21st at 8 p.m. I'm not sure what time that would be.
That's going to be 8 a.m. because they go on military time.
Okay. 8 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's going to be an early one.
Wow.
And I don't know what Venezuela local time is compared to U.S. So let's look that up real quick.
And this is hosted in Venezuela. Yes, in Caracas.
Yes, so you'll notice there's multiple teams in Venezuela in this And if anyone followed it last year, you'll remember that there were actually 3 Argentinian teams because they were hosts. So I think
That's
the
right.
host country gets an extra slot. I don't know that for sure, but it seems to be the running theme now. Looking now, Venezuela is on the same time as Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so 8 a.m.
So
Eastern.
that'll be early morning start on Sunday.
Goodness
So
gracious.
sorry NFS, you might lose me this weekend, but I'll watch the VOD. I promise. Uh, but this is a really exciting contest, guys. I think that it's on par with the Champions League and UEFA for your money's worth, and I think too that if they do what they did last year, the teams that are eliminated will continue to play friendlies, and those will also continue to be aired. So they actually play out, I think, through all the places to see how everyone placed after the group stage, and so you just keep playing. Uh, but the big games, of course, will follow. Maybe at some point, it's probably going to be tough with our schedules, but maybe we do a watch along, Luke, if we can figure
I,
out the
I was
timing.
I was just about to say it. I
So
will be totally into it, and if you guys in chat are into it, um, I'm super down. This is the funnest competition to watch. I absolutely adore it. It's one of my faves.
it's a fantastic contest. So uh, make sure, guys, that you join us on social media, join us in Discord, join us here in the chat and in the comments. Not not because it helps the channel, although it does, and we appreciate it, but because we want our number one goal at this channel. We're not trying to get famous. We're not trying to get rich on YouTube because that's not happening. Okay, what we want to do is build a community here, and we want to find the other futsal lovers and grow this sport grassroots organically.
Right.
And that's going to happen when we all come together and enjoy the game together as a giant family of the sport. So that's my kumbaya moment for the stream. Congratulations. We made it to that far. A lot better than the rants we did last month. I had a month to take a deep breath, so here we are.
Jake has
But yeah,
calmed down.
guys, we want to share in the fun with you guys. We've been posting a lot. We even got our hands on some Japanese preseason games this week. Uh,
Oh yes.
so that was kind of cool. And just talking about the different cultures and stuff of the game, I think it's so cool. You know, we talk about like what Luke talked about, even on commentary. You see it through commentary, through the fans, through practices. You know, I am a fan just like Luke of, I'm kind of reading between the lines on his comment from earlier, so I hate to speak for him, but the South American, Latin American commentary that's very intense. You know, you hear the buildup of the play. If you're not watching the game, you cover your eyes. You can hear the buildup in the commentator's voice that ends in that crescendo of a goal or a
Mhm.
close call. And
Mhm.
I love that. You know, I one of my favorite calls of all time, being a San Lorenzo fan, is the commentator from those streams. San Lorenzo. I love it. I live for that
It's
moment
such a
watching the
good
games.
call.
It's beautiful. It's music to my ears. It's art.
It is.
So uh, similarly, watching these Japanese streams, I noticed, and I mentioned it in the Discord, talking with our family in the Discord here, is that I noticed that the teams in Japan, when there's a timeout, the chants go silent. So that timeout is truly the timeout for the players, focus, reset.
Right.
And the minute that 1 minute buzzer goes off, they are chanting and hitting the drum again. It's just kind of interesting, you know. You
Yeah.
would never see that in South America. You would never see that in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think the game is growing in some of these places in different ways, but they are growing, so that's very unique. Um, on that
Just
note, Luke,
I was just going to add to your story that I sent Jake a stream. It was a few days ago. I just all I said was check this nonsense out. I mean, that I'm pretty sure it was an indoor facility. The fans lit off so many fireworks and
yes,
so much smoke filled the facility they could not play anymore. And the stream was literally just white because there was so much smoke. And it was just like they're insane. They're absolutely crazy. They love it. They don't care. I'm sure that alcohol has a little bit to do with things, but
potentially.
but it's so much fun. I giggled like a little schoolboy because I thought it was so funny that like they're lighting off fireworks, and it's a good time. And overall, it's a good
Oh
time.
yeah.
Anyway,
Hey, listen, it's I think that one was in Brazil in one of the lower leagues, and
yes,
it's wintertime there. We're not gonna be able to light off our smoke bombs on the march to the match. It's too cold. I don't know how cold it actually gets in Brazil in the winter. Let's
It's
start
probably
there
not that
compared to
cold.
what I'm used to and what Luke's used to, first of all.
Yeah.
But that was something I always wished I could do with my supporters group when we followed the Vulcans. Was I wish there was a way that I could do some kind of march to the match to hype the team, the fans up and get the chants going. But we're talking January, February in Northeast Ohio, and I'm sorry, the biggest fan in the world. Listen, I'm not doing it unless it's nice out. Okay, especially when our preseason, our pregame location was the bar right across the hallway inside of the same building. Luke, thanks for repping the Seven Suns today. By the way, got my shirt. Thank you, thank
I
you.
didn't cut it in
I should have
half.
worn mine and matched you. But this culture that can happen in futsal, and Luke, if you can pull it up, one of the ones that made the rounds this week was
I will
really
pull it up
intense
right
over in
now.
Croatia and Dinamo. Really, really cool video. And what was the context of this one, Luke? Had they won the championship?
I'm not sure. I just literally, like I said, I've been busy. I just caught a glimpse of this, and it speaks for itself. I mean, you can watch it on mute, and you're literally moved.
Oh, this qualified them for the finals, is what this was. So, I mean, the poor guy trying to record this can't even keep his camera straight because of the bouncing around him and
Right.
guys climbing up the net. Oh my goodness.
This is what we aspire to. Is at least I want to see for futsal. I've seen it in soccer. It's great. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And it kind of ties into what we talked about a little bit earlier with your game day experience being insanely different from your stream experience. But
Right.
this is one of those moments in sports where you can feel this energy coming through your screen as you're watching from home.
Yes.
And that's hard to do. That's hard to do because you don't have that personal touch to it. You're not there in the noise. But man, this is the closest thing you can get to that experience. And
Right.
when I think about my game day experiences and what sticks out in my head is my top two or three experiences in a live crowd. It's stuff like this.
Mhm.
For me, it was being at USA versus Mexico at Columbus Crew Stadium and winning 2-0. As it was tradition in Columbus to win 2-0.
Dos a
Uh,
cero.
yeah, that's right. And qualifying for that World Cup
Right.
in that game against your rivals, that was huge. And standing, I wasn't in the American Outlaws section, but I was directly above them in the section above, and
Mhm.
everybody outside of that section catching on to the chants and doing it. Number two for me is being at Ohio Stadium to watch the massive rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan on for the football match, and that crowd energy is what makes it believable and stick in your head.
Right.
But this is something where you watch it and you share it, and it's going viral right now for a reason. I mean,
Right.
this is very intense. And look, that's shoulder to shoulder in there. Good
Yeah.
thing there
There's
wasn't a
no
fire.
room. Yeah. Right.
Imagine a smoke bomb going off in here. I mean, there's
Right.
nobody's getting out. That's just all there is to it. But what an intense match as well.
Right.
And this is a good team, and who knows? Maybe we see them in Champions League play. I hope that this catches on. I hope that people see this and are interested in it. I know a few years ago, a video went viral that drew a little more attention to European basketball in a similar way. It was
Right.
comparing the crowds at a U.S. basketball game versus a European basketball game and how different it is.
Right.
And it's like this. It's like what we're watching right now. So the passion is there. We just need to find a way to replicate this and really build it up for other countries and really build the game up across the globe so that the sport as a whole, that rising tide lifts all of our ships, and we can grow this thing together.
Exactly. I think once if you're a novice, or if you're like wondering or hearing us and talking about this and you're like, what are they on about? What are they talking about? If you're in the Northwest area, go to a Timbers game.
Yeah.
You'll know. I mean, that's the only way I can replicate it is something like go sit in the Timbers Army, go get a cheap seat, sit in there and just observe or join in. No one cares. Everybody's into it. Every single person in there, you can yell and scream and act like a goof, and everyone is hyped. Everyone's excited together. There's arms around each other. It's very friendly. It's always been friendly. Everything I've been to is very friendly. Sometimes it gets a little rambunctious, but go
Again,
experience it.
alcohol.
Yeah, I'll call those strange
Yeah.
things. I'll call those a
Yeah,
strange,
doesn't it?
strange thing. But
Well,
anyways, it's great. You got to experience it if you never have.
well, let me build on that too, and give another challenge to anyone watching the stream. And this is for any sport. It doesn't have to be futsal, but we of course encourage you to go to your local futsal team.
Sure.
Is go get that experience, like a Timbers experience, like a Columbus Crew experience, and you can probably guess where we live in the country based on our
Yes.
picks for what comes to mind. But uh, also go catch your semi-pro outdoor team too, because
Right.
that atmosphere is different. It's memorable for a different reason.
Mhm.
um the collective large group at something like a Timbers Army sticks in your brain because you become one large entity. But the intimate setting of a semi-pro team or even a USL team, from the outdoor side, and your local futsal program, is going to be similar in the sense that the energy is very contagious on a smaller scale, and it makes it special for a different reason.
Right.
But I think that would be our closing comments to you guys for tonight's live stream. Is encourage you to go out and support your local teams. Hopefully you do that in futsal too, and we can create this grassroots growth and continue to lift up the sport. Make sure you guys join us in our Discord. Those links will be in the description. If you go to the description of this video or any of the videos on Futsal News, join us in the conversation. You don't have to wait another month to have this conversation with us. You can have it
No.
anytime in the Discord.
Right.
So I encourage you to join us there. We'll share other Discords with you. We'll share other streams with you to enjoy together. If you like what you see here, consider subscribing, consider liking the videos and commenting so the algorithm catches it on and we can grow the sport and the community through this vehicle of social media on YouTube. And in the meantime, guys, don't forget to play with your soul.